All right, today we're going to dig into a story that's all about good intentions, the kind that pave the road to, well, you know where. It's about a foundational mistake of the internet, and it's a story we have all lived through, probably just in the last hour. So let's get into it. Okay, just think about it for a second. If you had to name the single most annoying, frustrating, universally despised thing about using the web, what pops into your head? Yeah, I have a pretty strong feeling we're all thinking the exact same thing. Yep, the pop-up ad, that little window that just ambushes your screen and completely hijacks your train of thought. It is the absolute villain of our online lives. But what if I told you it was never meant to be a villain in the first place? See, the programmer who unleashed the pop-up ad on the world, he wasn't trying to destroy the internet. He was actually trying to solve a really specific, really tricky problem. But as we're about to see, his solution was an accident that went horribly, horribly wrong. So let's go back. Picture it. The mid-90s. The internet is basically the Wild West. And a programmer named Ethan Zuckerman is working for this web hosting company called tripod.com. It was a place where people could build their very first personal websites. And like literally every .com company back then, they were obsessed with one question. How do we make money? The answer, of course, was advertising, but this created a huge, huge problem. Tripod hosted user-generated content, which is a very nice way of saying they had zero idea what kind of wild stuff people were going to post. And one of their biggest advertisers, a car company, absolutely lost it when their banner ad showed up on a page with, let's just say, very adult content. They needed a way to show ads without tying their brand directly to the chaos of a user's page. And this was the big idea. Zuckerman and his team wrote a bit of code to launch an ad in a totally separate browser window. It would just, pop up, completely detached from the content on the page itself. And at the time, honestly, it felt like this super elegant fix. The advertiser was happy, the website made its money, problem solved. Or so they thought. Yeah, that clever fix did not stay clever for long. The code got out and it was copied and abused and twisted by advertisers all over the web, unleashing the monster we all deal with today. What began as a simple workaround quickly spiraled into one of the internet's biggest annoyances. And this all happened so fast. In just a couple of years, the pop-up went from this one little solution to a universal nightmare. By the early 2000s, the backlash from users was so bad that developers started making the first pop-up blockers. It was this whole digital arms race that, believe it or not, ended years later with a public apology from the inventor himself. And it wasn't just that they were annoying. The whole format got hijacked by shady advertisers and straight-up scammers. Pretty soon, trying to close a pop-up felt like playing whack-a-mole, and you knew one wrong click could install some nasty malware on your computer. The reputation of the pop-up was completely shot. So years go by. The pop-up is kind of this joke, a relic from a messier time online. But its creator, Ethan Zuckerman, he was still thinking about it. He was still bothered by it. And in 2014, he finally decided it was time to talk about his creation. And he didn't just write a blog post. He went big. He published this whole essay in The Atlantic. And it wasn't some technical breakdown. It was a real moment of public soul-searching about the internet that he had helped to shape. And this quote, this was the heart of it all. Just a simple, direct apology. He owned it. He acknowledged the monster he had accidentally created, but he also explained the original logic, that they really were trying to do the right thing. It's just such a powerful admission of how a good idea can go so wrong at internet scale. But this is where the story gets really, really interesting. Because Zuckerman's essay, it wasn't just about saying sorry for a crappy ad. He used the pop-up as a symbol for a much, much, much bigger problem with the entire internet. He called it the internet's original sin. And that sin is this. The whole business model of the web is built on advertising. And in that model, the user, that's you and me, we're not the customer. The advertiser is. And that means the whole system is designed to serve what they need first, a lot of times at our expense. The pop-up ad wasn't the disease. It was just the very first symptom. And that realization just changed everything for him. Instead of being haunted by being the pop-up ad guy, he decided to dedicate his entire career to trying to fix that original sin and build a better, more ethical internet. He became a professor or a researcher at these huge institutions like MIT and the University of Massachusetts Amherst. He completely transformed himself from a programmer who was solving a business problem into one of the leading academic voices questioning the very structure of our digital lives. So his new mission is all about solving some of the gnarliest problems on the internet today. He's working on how to fight misinformation, how to protect marginalized communities online, and trying to build a new kind of web that doesn't depend on watching our every move. It is a genuine redemption arc.
So what is the big takeaway from all this? Well, the story of this one annoying little ad is actually the perfect cautionary tale for our entire digital existence.
It all boils down to this fundamental fight. Every time you get annoyed by an autoplay video, or intrusive trackers that follow you everywhere, or some clickbait headline, you are experiencing the exact same tension that Zuckerman was wrestling with back in the 90s. The internet is in this constant battle between what's good for us, the users, and what makes the most money for the platforms. And that leaves us with one last pretty big question. This ad-based business model, this original sin, it gave us the pop-up ad. Since then, it's given us data mining, surveillance capitalism, and algorithms that make us angry. As this model keeps evolving, we really have to ask ourselves, what's it going to give us next? And are we going to be ready for it?